And what if I told you that the fastest way to build wealth isn't to look rich, but to look poor? Yes, it sounds counterintuitive, but this is exactly how many silent millionaires accumulate fortunes, while others spend just to keep up appearances. The problem is that most people fall into the consumption trap. As soon as they earn more money, they increase their expenses, and in the end, they remain trapped in the same endless race. Meanwhile, those who adopt discrete wealth live below their means, invest intelligently, and let their money grow in silence. Now the question is, are you building a solid financial foundation, or are you just sustaining an unsustainable lifestyle? Knowing how to avoid unnecessary expenses and maintain a discrete profile can be the key to transforming your financial reality. Best of all, you don't need to give up comfort, just learn how to achieve financial freedom without falling into the consumerism trap. So if you want to discover how millionaires hide their wealth and what really works to get rich without showing it off, stay until the end of this video. What's coming up could completely change your financial mindset. First, discrete wealth. Do you know that saying, money in hand is like a strong wind? Well, for those who live a life of ostentation, that might be true, but those who master the art of discrete wealth know that the secret to financial success isn't in showing off, but in accumulating. The one who appears to have little is often the one who has the most invested, growing in silence. The real money game isn't won with luxurious cars or designer clothes, but with strategic and intelligent financial choices. After all, what's the point of looking rich if, at the end of the month, your bank account is in the red? The big problem with displaying wealth is that it creates external expectations and invisible pressures that push you into a cycle of unnecessary spending. Whoever maintains a discreet profile avoids attracting the attention of opportunistic friends, relatives asking for loans, or even financial scams. Some of the richest men in the world still live in the same modest house since 1958 and drive a regular car. Meanwhile, many who try to look rich live in debt, financing a lifestyle they cannot sustain. In the end, the smartest strategy isn't to look rich, but to look poor and let your fortune grow out of the spotlight. Second, self-control. This doesn't mean deprivation, it means financial intelligence. It's about spending with awareness, valuing what truly matters, and eliminating waste. Whoever masters this skill doesn't live by counting coins but by making strategic decisions. Think about this. If a person spends all their money on superfluous things, they are trading their life's time for objects with no lasting value. In contrast, whoever learns to live frugally can direct their money toward investments and opportunities that multiply their wealth. The secret isn't in how much you earn, but in how you manage every cent. The key to financial independence is learning to distinguish between needs and wants. That means eliminating invisible expenses, those small daily luxuries that, over time, drain your budget. For example, if someone spends 5% of their monthly salary on food delivery for convenience, that represents 60% of an annual salary. Small adjustments can have a huge long-term impact. The secret is to make smart choices. Before buying something on impulse, ask yourself if that money could be better used for something that will give you a future return. True luxury isn't what you wear, it's the freedom to choose how to live. Third, financial independence. True freedom isn't about having a lot of money, but about not having to worry about it. When a person reaches financial independence, they stop working out of necessity and start working by choice. And that is only possible when money starts working for them through strategic investments and passive income sources. The issue isn't earning more, but avoiding lifestyle inflation, where every income increase is accompanied by a proportional increase in expenses. Whoever controls their standard of living and invests consistently is always one step ahead, building wealth in silence while others live off appearances. The problem with depending solely on active work is that time is a limited resource. Therefore, the key to a secure future is to build multiple sources of income. This can be achieved in many ways: long-term investments, your own businesses, digital assets, or even ventures that generate passive income. Imagine someone who invests 30% of their income in assets that generate compound interest. Over time, that money multiplies and creates a financial flow that allows them more freedom. At the end of the day, the right question isn't how much do I earn, but how much of what I earn is still working for me. Fourth, psychological benefits. Living without the pressure to prove something to others is, honestly, an enormous relief. When a person adopts the mindset of discrete wealth, they free themselves from the need to impress and start focusing on what truly matters. their financial and emotional tranquility. Those who spend to look rich often live stressed, trapped in debt, and worried about others' opinions. In contrast, those who opt for a more discreet lifestyle avoid that mental exhaustion and make financial decisions without the influence of their surroundings. In the end, does it really make sense to spend more just to maintain an image that doesn't bring real happiness? Furthermore, this mindset brings a strategic advantage. Less exposure means less pressure to sustain an unrealistic standard of living. Think about it. How many people earn well but live on the edge because they feel they must maintain certain appearances? Instead of living in that infinite race, whoever chooses a simpler style saves money, avoids stress, and sleeps peacefully knowing their wealth is growing. Avoiding unnecessary expenses isn't just a financial decision, it's a mental health decision, and when you learn this, the game changes completely. Fifth, impact on social relationships. Nothing pushes away false friends and opportunistic people faster than appearing poor. When a person doesn't show off, they begin to attract more authentic relationships based on who they are, not what they have. This means social connections become more genuine, without the constant worry of whether someone is approaching them for financial gain. Moreover, maintaining discreet wealth avoids uncomfortable situations like constant requests for money or the pressure to finance others' lifestyles. In the end, true wealth isn't in what you show, but in the relationships you build along the way. Another important point is that simplicity generates respect. Whoever manages their finances well and avoids ostentation demonstrates intelligence and self-control, qualities admired by those who truly understand money. People who master the art of living simply are not seen as stingy, but as strategic. This behavior not only protects your wealth but also strengthens your personal and professional relationships, because when there's nothing to prove, you have more time and energy to focus on what really matters. Sixth, investment opportunities. The great advantage of appearing poor is that while others spend to keep up appearances, the one who masters this strategy directs their money toward what truly matters, investing. While some splurge on consumer goods that lose value, strategists accumulate assets that generate income. The rule is simple. Whoever learns to avoid unnecessary expenses has more capital to multiply their wealth, and the secret lies in allocating those resources intelligently, whether in mutual funds, stocks, real estate, digital businesses, or any other vehicle that generates long-term financial growth. Another essential point is diversification. Whoever depends on a single source of income runs more risks. In contrast, whoever invests on multiple fronts ensures more stability. Imagine someone who allocates 20% of their monthly income to assets that generate passive income. Over time, that money grows and begins to work on its own, reducing the need to depend exclusively on active work. This is how financial independence is built, not by how much you earn, but by how much you keep and multiply. And whoever understands this early on is already several steps ahead in the game. Seventh, budget control. Whoever doesn't know where their money is going will never make it grow. Creating a budget isn't about limiting your life, but about having total control over your finances. Anyone who wants to achieve financial independence needs to see money as a strategic resource, not as something that simply comes in and goes out without planning. The first step is to track everything: income, fixed expenses, variable expenses, and honestly, even those small purchases that seem harmless but when added up, drain the budget. The golden rule: allocate a fixed portion of your income to investments before spending on anything else. Most people don't fail because they earn too little, but because they spend without a strategy. Having a clear budget allows you to identify waste and avoid lifestyle inflation. Eighth, conscious spending. Spending money is inevitable, but wasting it is a choice. The secret to building discrete wealth isn't in cutting expenses drastically, but in spending better. Before any purchase, ask yourself, does this bring me closer to or move me further from my financial freedom? Often people spend without thinking, subscribing to services they don't use, buying on impulse, or giving in to social pressure to have the latest thing on the market. The key is to prioritize experiences and investments that bring real value to your life, not just momentary desires. Being conscious with money doesn't mean living in scarcity, but giving every cent a purpose. Imagine someone who decides to reduce their unnecessary expenses by 10% and invest that amount every month. In a few years, that money can transform into a solid asset capable of generating passive income. The problem isn't spending. The problem is how to avoid spending on what doesn't matter to ensure that money works in your favor. The game changes when you realize that every purchase is a choice between making yourself richer or enriching someone else. Ninth, avoid lifestyle inflation. Earning more money should mean more financial security, right? Well, actually, that's not always true. For many, an increase in income is accompanied by a proportional or even greater increase in expenses. This phenomenon is known as lifestyle inflation, and it is one of the biggest enemies of financial independence. A person starts by earning little, adapts to that level, and as their income grows, they start to spend more. They buy a better car, move to a more expensive place, acquire unnecessary goods. The problem is that in the end, even though they earn more, they still depend on their salary to survive. The solution to this vicious cycle is to maintain a controlled lifestyle and channel the surplus toward investments that generate a return. Instead of using every raise to spend more, what if you allocated a portion to assets that multiply your wealth? Many millionaires grew this way. Instead of splurging with each new achievement, they continued to live frugally and invest strategically. The secret isn't to look rich, but to ensure that your money continues to grow in the long term. 10th, choose your company wisely. If you surround yourself with 5 indebted people, guess who will be the 6th? Your environment and the people you associate with directly influence your financial habits. Whoever spends time with people who show off, spend without control, and live only for appearances, ends up feeling pressured to do the same. On the other hand, those who surround themselves with people who value discrete wealth, make investments, and seek financial freedom, develop a much more prosperous mindset. Because, let's be honest, no one grows financially alone. You need to be in a circle that motivates you to make good decisions. Choosing your company wisely doesn't mean cutting off relationships radically, but setting boundaries and seeking positive influences. Participating in discussion groups about investments, following mentors who teach how to live with less and build wealth, surrounding yourself with people who value financial intelligence, all of that is key. Imagine 2 friends. One always tries to impress by buying expensive things, the other saves and invests. In a few years, who will have more freedom to choose how to live? The answer is obvious. The first one bought status, the second one bought the future. Conclusion. Appearing poor isn't being poor, it's a smart strategy. Appearing poor can be the biggest financial advantage someone has. In a world where everyone spends to show status, whoever chooses discrete wealth has the upper hand. The mistake many make is confusing appearance with reality. Wearing simple clothes, driving a regular car, and avoiding ostentation doesn't mean a lack of money, but a strategic decision to accumulate without drawing attention. True wealthy people know that silent money grows faster because while some spend to look successful, strategists build their wealth behind the scenes. The great secret of millionaires who don't look like millionaires is simple long-term focus. They know the key isn't in showing what they have, but in ensuring they will have much more in the future. And here's the final question. Do you want to look rich today and be poor tomorrow, or look common today and build a real fortune? The decision is yours. If this video made you think or brought you value, give it a like and share it with someone. And if you are interested in this type of content, subscribe to the channel. I love talking about finance and personal development. Let's grow together. A big hug, and God bless you.